Welcome to rSlash Relationships, where OP's husband wants to become an undead magical Demi-Lich. Our next Reddit post is from Throwaway Skull and Gems. I'm a 36-year-old woman, and my 41-year-old husband has some disturbing requests for after he's passed away. This one is really bizarre, and I'm sorry ahead of time. My husband of 12 years has had some medical problems recently. The topic about end-of-life plans came up, and I asked if he wanted to be buried. He didn't want that, nor did he want to be cremated. My husband wants me to have his skull taken from his body and cleaned. Then he wants that skull put on the mantelpiece in the living room. The rest of his body he wants sent to one of those places that makes the gems out of bodies and have his body made into 2 blue diamonds. He then, I'm sorry. I feel bad laughing about this. He then wants those gems to be put in the eye socket of the skull to look like eyes. That way he can watch the family from home and be passed down through the generations. My husband has always had a morbid and culturally insensitive sense of humor. As such, when he'd mentioned it before he was sick, I thought he was joking. Turns out he's not joking. He even asked me to do it too, so our skulls and matching eye gems can stay above the fireplace together. I adamantly refused. I tried talking to him, but he's firm that this is what he wants. I told him that it made me uncomfortable, but he said that it was also for our kids to have, who are not currently old enough to weigh in on this discussion. I asked him if this was his way of trying to live on with the family even after death, and he said, "Not really, no." I asked where he wanted the extra cremated remains from the gem company spread, and he told me that he didn't want any remains, and to just have the biggest gems possible made and have the company dispose of the rest. I argued that he had no idea if his kids would want the literal skull of their father. Further, which of our kids would take the skull after I died? And, I'm sorry. And in 2 or 3 generations, how would he feel if and when his descendants just sold this bizarre human skull at a garage sale because it means nothing to them? And finally, how is he going to feel about the fact that I, in my grief and trying to process the loss of him, would likely never even take the skull out of the box, much less have to live with him staring at me every time I sat on the couch? He essentially wasn't worried or didn't care about any of it. And as for me not taking the skull out of the box, that was the only time that he seemed upset. He told me that this is what he wanted, and I'd be ignoring his final wishes. I told him that he didn't have to live with those final wishes for years to come, but it didn't matter. Part of me wants to get over my feelings, but I can't. I want to cry thinking of someone hacking apart my husband and handing me his bones. And I feel anxiety over the thought of putting that skull with his blue eyes in my home until I die. I'm fine if he wants a burial. I'm fine with cremation. Hell, even a Viking funeral, or that weird thing where they turn you into tree food. Whatever. I'm even fine with the gems on their own, but this whole skull thing is really bothering me. He won't budge, and he isn't joking. At this point, I'm thinking that I might just do a simple cremation after he passes and spread his ashes on our property, but that seems sneaky and dishonest. But there is absolutely no way that I can comfortably live with what he's asking if he passes away before me. What do I do? Down in the comments, people are pointing out that this might be illegal, and OP replies, "Legality is one of the first things I mentioned," and he showed me that not only is it legal, but he already has a company in mind. The insurance policy covers quite a bit, but I'll look into the details a bit more and maybe ask a lawyer to confirm the legalities of this skull. And then, incredibly, another user posts a link to a news article, and the title is, "You can't keep your parent's skull. Under US law, it's nearly impossible to get permission to decapitate and deflesh a relative's remains." And the article just goes on to explain that, yeah, it's actually not super legal, so I don't know, man. This is just so weird. Also, as someone who used to play a lot of D&D in high school, I'm not even exaggerating. This is not a joke. I'm pretty sure this is the literal process for making a Demi-Lich. And if you don't know what a Demi-Lich is, it's basically a wizard's soul inside of a skull with big gem eyeballs, and it flies around shooting laser beams at people and killing things. Our next Reddit post is from Throwaway One-Time Use. My family and my husband's family are members of a fundamentalist Christian denomination, the type that views women's roles as exclusively to be a helpmeet to their husbands and to raise kids. I don't think people realize how dark that world really is, but I won't get too much into it. Let's just say that unless you've been super brainwashed or actually somehow believe it, it's not a good place for women or kids or really anybody. I was homeschooled for my whole life and rarely had any interaction with anyone outside of the circle until I was 18. I wasn't allowed to talk to people who weren't from my church unless it was for the purpose of trying to convert them. From an early age, I knew that I was different, and by puberty, I was crushing on girls and having romantic thoughts and feelings about them. After my parents read my diary when I was 14, they sent me to conversion therapy, which was an awful experience and obviously didn't work. Between the ages of 15 and 18, I attempted to unalive myself 11 times. After being released from the hospital the last time, my parents essentially farmed me out to family friends to help with their kids and to attempt to find someone to court me. When I was babysitting for these other families, I had unmonitored internet access for the first time, and I joined an LGBT group locally under a pseudonym. And I started going out to meet people when I could, since supervision was more relaxed than it was with my parents. At one of these meetups, I met a girl who I completely fell in love with and started dating her in secret. This was in April of 2017. Fast forward to when we'd been dating for around 8 months. It was around the time of the year that we went out to a Christmas light festival in a neighboring town. Usually, people from our denomination don't go to that kind of thing because it's not God-honoring, but friends of the people that I was staying with saw me there with my girlfriend and told my parents. By the time that I got home that night, my parents were there waiting for me. 2 months later, after being forced back home and having everything taken away, I was introduced to my now husband, and by May of this year, we were married. I don't love him, he doesn't love me. He 100% buys into everything our religion teaches, but had a failed courtship and then did mission work. He literally told me that the only reason that we're married is because he feels like it's Jesus' mission for him in life to heal me. It's been 8 months of absolute hell. Everything I do has to be approved by him. I only have friends who are either the wives of his friends or from the church. I don't have a job. I literally have a box that I told him was a hope chest and put enough baby things in that he doesn't know that I have a tablet and books that I'm not supposed to have. I know that this isn't really the typical kind of thing that gets posted on this board, but I'm desperate. I've been talking to my girlfriend again since I got the tablets. I've been trying to mend things with her. I know that I need to get out of this situation, but I have no idea how to. I'm afraid that I'm going to get dragged back into this hole again, and I just can't. I'm hoping this board might have people on it, even just 1 or 2, who can help me leave safely and permanently. It's hard because if I do go, I have to basically build my life over again from scratch, and I don't have any family or anyone who would help or support me in any way. The comments are basically filled with people who also escaped cults, and there's a surprising number of them. Their stories seem pretty similar to OP, and they tend to resolve by them just running away, getting help from women's shelters or like cult shelters, and then just rebuilding your life from scratch because that's just what you gotta do. Our next Reddit post is from Throwaway Solstice. I'm a 36-year-old woman and my ex-husband is 38. My ex-husband always told me that he didn't want kids, but he got a new woman who's 23, pregnant within weeks of us splitting up. He now wants me to be an auntie to their baby and let them use my house. My husband and I are recently divorced after about 2 years of marital issues. He admitted to falling out of love with me. It hit me hard. Primarily because I had always been the one to support and nurture him while he was often distant and uninterested. But in any case, and despite my heartbreak, I was relieved after 2 years of troubles to be divorced. I kept the house, which I owned by the way, and he moved to the next town over. Our divorce was finalized just a few weeks ago, and not even a week after he left, I started hearing rumors of my ex out with a new woman. A lot of people I'd considered friends seemed to eat up the gossip around this and excitedly posted online about it like it meant nothing. Suffice to say, these people are not my friends anymore. But through them, I did end up hearing about my ex moving his new 23-year-old girlfriend into his place. These rumors were confirmed after his sister, whom I've always gotten along with, texted me about visiting them. She noted how weird it felt to see him all over his much younger girlfriend, laughing like nothing happened. It was also quite clear to me that my husband had almost certainly met and began something with this woman while we were still married. I deleted a lot of my social media accounts and tried to just ignore all the goings on and mind my own business. I didn't hear from my ex for a long time, but he called me a few days later sounding very excited. He hit me with the news that his girlfriend was pregnant. For context, I had wanted children with him for years, but he'd always said no, that he didn't want them and he wasn't ready. I asked him about this over the phone and he said, "It's different this time." He hesitated and said that he didn't want our kids to be mistreated by society for looking different. I'm black and he's white. Also, his new girlfriend is white. So that can only be a comment about race. During the call, he told me that he would really love me to be an active part of his child's life and to be an auntie to them. I was pretty much speechless, and he continued by asking if he, his girlfriend, and eventually their baby could come over to use the pool and barbecue at my house sometimes, because it's too big for just one person. I was so mad that I put the phone down and ignored all of his texts asking me where I'd gone. His entitlement on top of everything else was staggering to me. It's been another week or so, and I haven't responded yet. I told my family and friends about it, and they were all horrified by the endless bombs that my ex dropped on me. His family's actually being incredibly kind and supportive of me, and they also think that he's lost his mind. I spoke to his mother the other day, and she said that her son's been relentlessly calling, trying to get his parents to come over and meet his new girlfriend, and eventually attend scans with him. This whole thing is like a bad dream, and I have no idea how to begin articulating myself. What do you guys think I should do? Continue with the silent treatment and just move on with my life? Or do I tell him where to get off? OP, just block him and move on with your life. This guy is toxic, racist, entitled, scummy, hypocritical. He's just straight up a bad person. I'm amazed you managed to stay married to this guy for 2 years. So just cut him loose and move on. Who cares what he thinks? Also, it will never cease to amaze me how I read stories about racists getting into interracial marriages. What? Huh? I'm a 23-year-old woman, and my 24-year-old boyfriend wants me to stop having my period. Can I even recover from this? We've been dating for 2 months. Things have been going well. Yesterday, he asked me to go to the gym with him, and I declined saying, "I don't feel up to it. I started my period." He was like, "Wait, what?" And I repeated myself. Then he goes, "You know, you don't have to do that to yourself, right?" I was like, "Dude, what the hell are you saying?" He goes on to explain that his ex was on a type of birth control that got rid of her period and overall made their relationship more enjoyable. He asked me to consider doing the same. I told him absolutely not. I don't want to switch birth control methods, and if he doesn't like me having periods, then he can dump me. I told him, good luck finding a girl who doesn't have a period. He said, "I already had one. I'll find another." I'm so appalled. What the hell is wrong with him? I know there are methods to stop periods, but for him to imply that I'm a rarity for having them was insane. This is the first time I brought up my period to him. I'm a 23-year-old girl. Of course I have periods. I know that he was making a suggestion and probably meant well, but that's a crazy thing to suggest. That I should get rid of my period for his enjoyment. I'm so mad at him. I don't think I can recover from this. It just shows how dumb he is. What do you all think? Can I even recover from this, or should I just end it while I'm ahead? Then OP posted an update. So I broke up with him last night. I just simply told him that I'm not interested in being with someone who views my body this way, and that I think it's best that we part ways. I wasn't super emotionally invested since it had only been 2 months. He didn't have much to say. In fact, he kind of just acted very confused, and I told him that he should know what he did, lol. I'm still down about it. Breakups suck no matter what. If anything, I'm more upset that this is why it ended. OP, you would really break up with a man who's such an expert on female biology? This man clearly has so much to teach you about your own uterus. You know, I honestly can't decide if this guy's core problem is his entitlement or his stupidity. I think it's his stupidity. Our next Reddit post is from Throwaway V. I'm a 25-year-old woman, and my 28-year-old husband just said something disgusting to me. I can't stop thinking about it. I've been in the bath for a long time because I've been dreading going to bed with him. A few hours ago, I was lying in bed feeding our baby. My husband was begging me to come do something with him. I tried to tell him to just wait a few moments. He kept glaring at me and telling me to hurry up. I just gave birth a couple of months ago, and my husband has been so jealous of his own son. I could see that my husband was starting to lose his patience, and I told him, "Honey, I have to take care of him before you. You know that." And what he said back was stunning. He looked me right in the eyes and said, "Oh geez, do I want to read this?" He said, "If you love him so much, why don't you suck his dick instead of mine?" I couldn't say anything. I didn't know what to say. And then he stormed out of our bedroom. I don't even know what to make of this. What should I do? It just bothers me so deeply. It's going to be hard for me to forgive. I really don't have many other complaints about my husband. Most days, things are great with him, but that just made me sick to my stomach. Am I just being sensitive? Maybe I'm just emotional, but I feel like crying. OP, that is revolting. Your husband needs therapy immediately. That was rSlash-relationships, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.